So I am just as surprised as you are to say that actually, After Everything is surprisingly a really good movie. I cannot believe it. As I was going into this expecting it to be really trashy, just like a bit of a toxic love story like all of the other movies have been. But actually, this one is so much more mature and elevated than the previous 4 movies, and was surprisingly, like I said, actually really enjoyable. This time it's fully from Hardin's perspective, so you really are in his mind, and is based on the 5th book called Before, so you do get to learn a lot more about what happened in Hardin's past. And we also then, of course, continue the storyline from a present-day perspective too. And we also get a bit of a flash forward into what's going to happen into the future. So I feel like it concluded everything really, really well. And I thought it was pretty hilarious how Anna Todd wrote these books as a series of fan fiction based not only on Twilight, but of course also on Harry Styles. So it was really clever and also really funny how they brought that into this, in terms of actually Harry Styles could actually play Hardin in a movie special. And I think hero Fiennes Tiffin has elevated himself as an actor so much, as the first 4 movies he was actually a little bit cringeworthy to watch, as his acting level was nowhere near, first of all, Josephine Langford, but also the other brilliant actors that were also in the movies. So it was really nice to see him elevated so much more in terms of his acting skills. And also, he was a producer this time, so I feel like it was really brilliant what he was able to contribute. As like I said, this is of course from Hardin's perspective, and he has just embodied Hardin for so many years. So I feel like the end result of this movie was really, really good. And speaking of Hardin, I just feel like his character trajectory across this movie was really, really well done. In terms of right in the beginning, he is a true alcoholic. He cannot get over Tessa at all. And of course you can understand why, as you've been through their love story across the 4 years so far. He's clearly got a lot of codependency with her. He hasn't gotten over the fact that he's been dumped by her. He really regrets the way in which he handled all of that stuff. So I feel like it was really brilliant to first see that he's in such a dark position. But then as the movie progresses, you get to see the destructive side that having this kind of an outlook would have. And of course, he does still want to regret and make up for all of the things that he has not only done to Tessa, but also to Natalie too. But of course, it's not as easy as him just wanting to have it done. But true to life, I feel like it's really interesting. As much as a person might want something to happen, you can't control other people. So I think it's really brilliant how they explored the fact that, look, even though Hardin wants this to happen, he can't be such a spoiled brat to just click his fingers and get what he wants, even though his family does come from Voss. So I think that was another interesting dimension. And then by the end of this movie, he feels like a completely different character, as he's just matured and grown so much. So I feel like it's actually pretty believable as you've been on this journey of self-discovery and growth with him. And then he's able to try and fight for his girl, he's able to get whatever he wants then. And just the positive picture by the end of this movie, with this character in particular, was just really, really good. As like I said, you've been on this journey with him for so long. And in particular, in this movie, fully with him from start to finish. I feel like Josephine Langford didn't have to do that much, as she was in a couple of dream sequences right in the beginning in this movie. And then throughout, it was all just flashbacks, so she only really needed to film that one wedding scene right at the end. And I would never have said this about the first 4 films, but actually I feel like this character actually is a really good role model now, as he first started in those 4 movies, not even just 1 movie, in 4 movies, with so much immaturity, so much teenage angst, so much hormones, so much ego-driven stuff taking place, to now actually being somebody who really is able to get what they want, is able to have a successful life, is able to learn so much about his past. It was just so good. I mean, this movie does still have a lot of cringe dialogue, some cringe-worthy sequences, and some of it felt a little bit forced. For example, when Hardin was being overly apologetic for some of the things that took place in the past. I know some of the things that he has done is pretty unforgivable, but the way in which he was just speaking just felt, like I said, like a completely different character. And also the dialogue between him and his father when he was trying to explain how love works was a little bit cringe-worthy too, and just felt so forced. Outside of those 2 sequences, like I said, I feel like it was pretty solid. For the few scenes that Josephine Langford was in this movie, I think she was really good. Tessa is always shown as a character that's really mature, really wise beyond her years, and you can really see why she is the object of Hardin's affection. It was a shame that we didn't get to see more of her. Maybe she could have also gone back to the character that we saw in the 3rd movie played by Dylan Minnette. Some of the other characters could have definitely come back, and she could have just done so much more. As like I said, Tessa is also such a fleshed out character, and the first 4 movies were obviously based on her storyline and her narrative. So whilst it was definitely brilliant and refreshing to see things from Hardin's perspective, I feel like they could have just done a little bit more with Tessa for sure. But instead of Josephine Langford, we had Mimi Keene, who was so good as Natalie. She was brilliant when she was playing Cindy Williams in EastEnders, and was really, really brilliant here. Such a brilliant character. You can see why also Hardin was attracted to her all those years ago, and the concurrent storytelling in terms of the past and the present from Natalie's perspective was really, really good. And I just love the Natalie character. She similarly has tried to create a new life for herself in Portugal, has got new friends, some of them are a little bit rebellious and a little bit dark, and what happens when Hardin, somebody from her past, comes into this, all of the ricochet effects that will naturally take place with some of the characters that also have a very big ego. It was all explored really, really well, and I feel like they wrapped everything up really, really nicely. Of course, it would have benefited a little bit more if the runtime was slightly longer, and they would have explored a couple more storylines, for example with Tessa and some other characters too, but nonetheless, I think After Everything was really, really solid, and so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10. I'm as shocked as you are. But now I would love to hear what you thought of After Everything. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.